ভাই আবুল ভাই আছে my dad said আবুল ভাই তো মারা গেছে আমাকে ফোনটা দিয়ে গেছে I'm just like bro, why
Welcome everyone to IBA Khichuri. আমি Fardeem. আমি আজকে আছি আমার দুজন co-host-এর সাথে আদিব এবং ইসমাম এবং for the first time আমাদের একজন guest সাইদুর রহমান পারবি all the way
Oh.
from Dhaka City. বারবি সো আমরা আজকে পার্সোনাল ফাইন্যান্স নিয়ে কথা বলবো and before we start বারবি তুই নিজে একটা ইন্ট্রো দে যে কোথায় পড়ালেখা করস কি করস what are you interested in all that good stuff.
Yeah, so thank you Fardeem. So as I said, as you said, I am Barobi. I go to U of T and currently pursuing a degree in accounting with the econ minor. And yeah, as for our interests, I like personal finance. I'm against, capital. I'm against like corporate America trying to slave away, the general masses, and so that's why I deeply care about my personal finances. I don't know. I like other things as well, but nothing's just coming to the top of my head. But I'm an interesting person. That's all I'll say.
Barbie is
So
an
for our
interesting
viewers-
person. I can say that. Ismam, go.
For our
You heard it
for
here
our
first, guys.
viewers-
You heard it here first. Barbie's an interesting person. Good shit.
So for our viewers, U of T is a Canadian university. It's, I think, the best Canadian university. So Canada is পড়তে চাইলে, that's where you sort of strive to be at. So Barobi's already at the pinnacle of his life. I meant
Barbie's made
all
it.
downhill from here.
Barbie's made it.
It's all.
All
But-
I'll say, I go to the Harvard of Canada. Okay, that's
Yeah,
all I'll
he-
say, bro. That's
He
all I'll say.
basically goes to the Harvard Business School of Canada.
No,
Nah,
that's a
Bro,
joke.
to
That's a joke.
contextualize it, he goes to the IBA of Canada. Seriously, he goes to the IBA. of
Yeah.
Canada.
That's
Yeah,
facts. That's
basically.
facts. That's facts.
Yeah.
So
Alright,
It's not
yeah,
that good. It's not all that good, but
bro,
আচ্ছা,
it's
so
hard to get it.
আমরা কনভারসেশনে শুরু করা সো উই হ্যাড আমাদের গতকাল অ্যাকচুয়ালি রেকর্ড করার কথা ছিল and then we got on and we had a fantastic conversation about everything life money society bhabi culture etc etc and ওটার মধ্যে বারবি তুই বলছিলি যে your personal goal is to retire at the age of 45. Tell us more.
yeah, so that's just something that's been in the back of my head for a while. I recently, especially like during quarantine, I recently got into got big into personal finance and like things like saving and investing, and how financial freedom is something that's really important. Financial freedom is where you don't have anything tying you down to a specific job after a certain point. So for instance, if you have enough money saved up and if you have enough money invested, তুমি যদি চাও তাহলে you can leave your job right now and not have to worry about running out of money for the rest of your life, as long as you don't increase your lifestyle spending by a very large extent. So the whole theory is that like if you are doing a job, you're doing it because you like working, right? Or you like either the workplace or the work that you do, but it's not যে না হ্যাঁ আমার আজকে চাকরি করতে হবে because আমি যদি চাকরি না করি আমি রেন্ট দিতে পারবো না, also I won't have enough to eat. So that is like, so for me I think retirement doesn't necessarily mean যে হ্যাঁ like it's not in the typical sense that আচ্ছা আমি চাকরি শেষ করে দিব বাসায় বসে থাকবো, I'm gonna get old, nothing like that. It's just that I want to have control over my life instead of being controlled by my employer, right? So I would basically work because I like the work and because I like the communications and the interactions with people, but I won't work because I have to work. So like I want to reach a goal in like financially in my life where I don't have to worry about things like আমি কালকে ভাড়া দিতে হবে অথবা আমার এটা টাকা লাগবে. Again, like the constraint is, obvious constraint is that you save, like your financial freedom is relative to how much you expect to spend in a year, right? So yeah, so 45, I think, I'm not sure if I can reach that goal. I'm যদি জানতাম আমি আরো আগে investing start করতাম. Right now, I can tell you I have like $1,450 in my savings account because I started savings like 3-4 months ago, and I've been saving like around $300 a month. Yeah, so yeah, but like once I start working full time after like my university ends, I plan on saving a lot more, and we'll see if I can reach that goal. Yeah, so 45 is the target that I set for myself. Taking into consideration increases in pay and things like that. Yeah, financial freedom.
So why do you
obvious?
Go.
Fardeem go.
আচ্ছা, I think আমরা অনেকে at least এই কলের মধ্যে sort of understand, say, the FIRE movement, also how retirement works, but আমি অনেকদিন ধরে জানতাম না retirement কিভাবে কাজ করে, because I feel like, wait, তুমি যদি like, I don't know, so say 45 January 1st, তুমি যেদিন like 45 হইলো or whatever, তখন you quit your job, তোমার obviously একটা savings আছে, right? But মানে তোমার savings can only take you like so long, so মানে আমাকে just বুঝা, like, please explain to the audience like how this whole mechanism thing works for retirement to work.
Okay, so what retirement basically is that, in essence, if you want it, then you can just quit your job, right? Like, or your main source of active income, as we say. And the way investing, and the way most people they live off of their like savings and during retirement, is that what they do is that say you save some money, like say for instance for the sake of this example, to me bank taka rakho. Your bank, you've had a lifetime of savings, okay? The bank gives you an interest, right? Interest for keeping your money, like having your money deposited with them. So the way retirement works is that you try and not to touch the principal amount, which is the money you saved, but rather live off of the interest that you're receiving, right? So investing is similar to just saving your money in, say, like a high yield savings account at a bank, but the difference is that instead of you just parking your money in a bank account, you are going out and you're buying, it's like you're buying a ownership stake at public companies, or say into real estate. So you buy like a rental property, things like that, right? And the whole goal is that the amount of money that is returned to you, that's what you have to live off of without touching the principal amount you saved. That's just how essentially retirement works, because the moment you start eating away at your principal, that's when you start depleting your principal, right? And ideally, because because a person doesn't know how long they're going to live, ideally you don't want to touch you don't want to start depleting your principal amount. Rather, you want to live off of your interest. So you basically try and make your money work for you. You basically make your money work for you. Yeah.
Achha, Barobi, just a question.
Yeah.
Barobi, just a question. So, just for the sake of the audience, so why should I go into investing instead of just putting my money in a bank? Or is it the same? Or do I expect more returns with either? Just go into a bit of detail with that.
I guess before that, why even save? Like, let's say আমি আমার job অনেক পছন্দ করি, right? Like, I'm a person who's enjoying their job, I'm getting a lot of money, and I spend it all because I want the latest iPhone, I want the latest car, I want everything new, and I earn a lot of money. I don't plan on retiring বুড়া হওয়ার আগ পর্যন্ত. Why should I save?
And that's a really interesting question. I think the concept of saving comes from a position of, almost like a safety net, I would say. Because, a person can love their job, but at the end of the day, like once you start getting old, there might be unseen circumstances that you might pay for. There might be a health issue, or, one day you might just wake up and not like your job anymore, right? There's something called a burnout that a lot of YouTubers talk about. So yeah, I think the whole concept of saving is that in the circumstance that something goes bad, or if you are in like a worst case scenario, you still have something to protect you, right, from like just like plummeting down into like a black hole, pretty much, right? So it's basically a safety net. You save because for a lot of people, saving can come from so saving can mean different things for a lot of people. For some, it can mean no longer having to work in the job that they don't like at all. For others, saving can mean like having a source of safety or feeling or like eliminating a lot of the risks that come with like during an unforeseen circumstance. So that's why you would save, because like at the end of the day, if you don't want to save, that's on you. But if you're thinking about your life in the future, about getting old, about like honestly anything in the long term, like at the end of the day, like even if you like your job might not exist tomorrow. Your job might not exist. There can, like, robots can take over and your job might not even exist, right? There's always a risk of that. So for me, saving is a way of eliminating a lot of risks that come with the future. And the future obviously has a lot of risks because you can't see the future. You can only learn from your past mistakes or your past experiences, and you can act upon them in your present. But the future is just unknown. So that's why I save, and that's why you should do.
রিস্ক ছাড়াও আরেকটা জিনিস হচ্ছে যে লাইক ইফ ইউর মেকিং আ ভেরি লার্জ পারচেজ সো আমি it's so funny but quarantineর মধ্যে I got a lot into personal finance than before, but so I was running the math যে লাইক আচ্ছা ঢাকা শহরে কেউ যদি বিয়ে করতে চায় তাহলে কত টাকা লাগে? And I did some Google searches. আসলে like 8 লাখ না কত জানি এরকম. And then আমি আরো কিছু মানুষের সাথে কথা বলছি যারা কিনা রিসেন্টলি মানে বিয়ে করছে এবং ওরা বলছে yeah, like if you have like a normal wedding, মানে not even মানে সেনাকুঞ্জে বিয়ে করতেছো না, like you're having a very standard বিয়ে, so ওইটা cost আসে around 25 lakhs. So if you're straight out of university, like few years in the job market, that's when most people get married, right? Like in their 30s, like end of their 30s. There's no way your paycheck's going to be that high, and so you need to save to get to that.
Yeah, just to sort of like the average pay scale to Dhaka, most people aren't earning to 1.5 lakh taka mashe. People aren't earning that much money to sort of have that sort of 25 lakh taka. 25 lakh taka is like a minimum in terms of marriages, and we're just talking about marriages here. They go astronomically high, right? Yeah. And oi porimane manush taka aaye kore na on a day. Like most people in the country do not earn that much money. So saving as a concept is super important for us. But I think I just want to clear out that thing of how is the best way to make use of my money. Barobi, we were talking about what was it? Using money as a tool or something like that. And how's the best way you see that? That's what I was asking. Like investing compared to bank taka, fixed deposits. That's what we call it, right?
Yeah. So going back to that question, the difference between parking your money in a bank account, like savings account, and investing is that with money in your bank, you take like to a large extent, you take very little risk, right? Because you are protected, under like a bunch of like insurance plans, whatever. And it's not like the bank doesn't do anything with your money. The bank does the same thing that you would otherwise do, right? So the bank takes your money and they basically loan it out to other people. They loan it out or they make investments, pretty much, right? With investing though, the risk is obviously higher because technically your money isn't insured. There isn't a guarantee unless you buy something, say like a loan certificate where you're giving someone money for a guaranteed return, right? There isn't a guarantee, but because there isn't a guarantee, the returns are usually a lot higher, right? So right now with the current economic situation that we are in right now, savings accounts have a very low interest, right? Because governments as a whole, they want to encourage spending. So if you're saving, you'll only earn 1% return, right? But because you're taking a little more risk, with investing, your returns are a lot higher. So I was looking up data today in the morning, and historically, over say like the last 50 years, the S&P 500, or like the largest companies in the US, have performed at around 11% year over year. And if you adjust that for inflation, that's around 8.5-9% like annually. And like you might think that, oh, okay, so because the returns are so much higher, the risk is a lot higher, right? Because like why else would you receive such a big return? But it's just that historically, if you look at historical data, the S&P 500 have always performed well. Like all the big public companies have all performed well, and the difference between saving and investing again is that saving is a lot more like, oh, just give your money to a bank and then forget it, and just like watch your money grow, say like 1% per year. So if you have $100, you only grow $1, right? Like they only add $1. But because you are taking a more hands-on approach, where you are going out and buying a piece of ownership, but you're buying a piece of ownership stake at like these companies, you basically get a lot more return because you are an investor. So I hope that clears up the differences.
Yeah, fair enough. A key takeaway I think there was that the higher risk you're willing to take, the higher potential rewards and returns you can achieve, right? And also a point on savings accounts is that I just quickly searched this up. Like a max or HSBC also Standard Chartered you can get is a 5%. That's like on the higher end for a savings account. Whereas amader Bangladeshe inflation rate is like 6.5%. So that means on a year-to-year basis, tumar prices of bhat, tat, and in general consumer goods, যেসব আমরা কিনি, that's increasing at a price of 6%. So tumar savings, bank এ রাখলে, tumar টাকার value actually কমতেছে on a year-on-year basis. So তুমি afford করতে পারবে না as much stuff next year. Just an interesting thing to think about, yeah? So that's sort of why we're pushing investing here, is because like savings accounts aren't really feasible in terms of keeping the value of your money anymore.
আরেকটা জিনিস just quickly, মানে ওটা হচ্ছে ইসমামের কোয়েশ্চেনের আরেকটা আনসার, যে তুমি যদি জাস্ট টাকা লাইক বাসার কোনায় ফালায় রাখো, তাহলে ইটস লুজিং ভ্যালু এবং ইনফ্লেশনের কারণে। এবং মানে ইনফ্লেশনের ব্যাপারটা লাইক মানে লিসেনারদের মধ্যে কেউ যদি এটা নতুন এনকাউন্টার করে, I would encourage them to like think about it a little bit more, but it's very counterintuitive, but it makes a lot of sense. যে লাইক 10 টাকা দিয়ে আগে 10 টাকা দিয়ে একটা লেস চিপস কিনা যায়, তো বাট এখন লেস চিপস কিনতে 20 টাকা লাগে ঢাকাতে। So inflation is just that
inflation is basically what your parents complain about all the time. আগে 1 টাকা দিয়ে 1 বস্তা চাল কিনা যেত, এখন 100 টাকা দিয়ে কিনা যায় না। That's all inflation is. That's what everyone complains about. Because the problem with inflation is that inflation goes up every single year, but people's incomes don't go up as fast. And that has always been a fundamental problem, where the masses suffer because their standards of living keep falling, like relatively, because their incomes don't increase as much. And one more thing about putting your money in a savings account is that you are basically, the return that you expect from your money, you are leaving that to the government. Because the way your banks determine interest rates is basically there is a predetermined base rate set by, say, like the National Bank or like the National Treasury or whatever, and then banks would add, say, like a percentage to that. So depending on the amount of money you have saved, they'll add like a smaller percentage to that. The same way loans are. So loans work in the same way with a base rate, and then the bank charges like a premium on top of the base rate. So that's just how it works.
Pretty much, exactly. Yeah, super economics. I like this. This is fun.
I think with the savings idea, something sort of hit my head. Like যখন ছোট ছিলাম, like parents রা টিফিনের জন্য টাকা দিত, like like কিনার জন্য। So like let's say যখন ক্লাস 5 এ ছিলাম, I think একটা কোকের দাম 5 টাকা ছিল, like 1 কাপ কোকের দাম। So let's
No
say
way,
instead
bro.
of
What are you talking about?
I'm pretty sure it was either 5 or 10.
The golden
Um,
days.
and আমি like মনে আছে আমি নিয়ে কিনছিলাম like একবার I say like I didn't spend it and I like kept it. So like if I kept it until let's say what যখন 11-12 এ ছিলাম তখন কোকের দাম হয়ে গেছে 20 টাকা. Like the same thing I could have bought with ওই যে same টাকাটা যেটা আমি জমায় রাখছি আমি কিন্তু পরে গিয়ে আর কিনতে পারতেছি না just because inflation হয়েছে. So the idea is যে when you have an inflation rate that's higher than like the interest that bank is giving you তখন even though we 5 টাকার ভ্যালু হয় 5 টাকার উপরে হয়তো 1 পয়সা করে বাড়তেছে you get like 7.5 টাকা আর ওইদিকে কোকের দাম হয়ে গেছে 20 টাকা. So you still can't buy it. So ওইভাবে your value of your money is dropping if you keep on hoarding it basically. দেখে I think investments are কি বলবো generally a good thing to do.
Yeah, just a fun thing on the inflation topic. Like, I just want to talk about the fact that potato crackers, the chips, has stayed at a consistent 10 taka per packet for as long as I can fucking remember. So shout out to Pran and shout out to potato
Bro,
crackers.
but the amount of
The
has
amount has been
decreased
decreasing. It's been more air,
and
bro.
the amount of
Seriously?
batash has been increasing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
That's
even
that's
Pringles now comes in packets. That's just how you know it's a scam.
Pringles are tummy dekhini, but potato crackers.
I've seen Pringles packets. Like not here, but like I've seen it in like on like Instagram or whatever. People are like losing their minds over Pringles in packets.
Oh, I heard this Pringles are like shape and everything. Like they made it so that it's stackable, so that মানুষজন
Yeah.
complain করে যে বাতাস পায়.
Yeah.
Like they were like no batas with us. So I think that's
Yeah,
why
no,
it pissed people off when they started
Yeah.
selling it bags.
Pringles are fucking good though. Pringles are OG chips. Not gonna lie. Sour cream and onion. Yeah. So moving on from savings, Barobi, if you can go into a bit more about the FIRE ideology and what that means in its essence, because I wasn't familiar with it either before the conversation I had with you guys yesterday. So just like give us an outline.
So what FIRE is, like it stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. So it's
Oh shit, I thought it
basically,
meant Agun.
bro, I'm leaving, bro. This is it.
That's just
So anyway, so that's what it stands for, and it's basically a movement where people they just like they're very intentional with the amount of money that they save because they want to reach a position in their life where they no longer have to depend on, say, the government paying you retirement like benefits, or having to keep working for the rest of their lives. So basically, the way the people think is that, oh, because I am saving so much money, I get to be financially free. So that's what financial independence mean, where you basically are set. You're basically set, and you don't. And it's not like like you have to be a filthy millionaire, or you have to have like millions of dollars invested, and you have to be like a business tycoon. It just basically means that you don't have to worry about putting food on the table.
Okay.
And
cool.
So recently it's been getting a lot of attention because as we know, like millennials are basically the worst in terms of the amount of money that we earn and the amount of money that we save. Like if you look at America or if most countries, the cost of education is rising like exponentially. It has like increased in the last in like between generations. So people are taking on more debt. People are, consumerism is also a big thing where, like media just constantly keeps making you want things that you didn't even need, like know you wanted, right? And so credit card debts, education debts, things like that, right? And these just all add up. And at the end of the day, like millennials and like us, so for instance, Gen Z, like we'll find ourselves working for a lot longer than we thought we would. Even if you retire from like your actual job, you'd still have to go out and find a job because you're paying out so much in interest. You have to pay out debt, things like that, right? So with FIRE, you basically, the goal is that you don't have any debt, or if you have debt, it's good debt in the sense that it's not exponentially increases or it's debt as a result of investments, right? Where there is a collateral that you can just if you can't pay the loan back, you just give the property off. So that's the thing. So it encourages good debt. It discourages, poor decision-making choices. It makes you more intentional about the things you spend money on. And as a result of these very conscious actions, you reach a path where you're free, where you can, divert more of your time to doing things you love, spending time with your family, taking that trip across like the world that you never thought you could do, right? So things like that, pretty much.
So
you talked about good debt. Good debt মানে কি আমি এখন ব্যাংক থেকে লোন নিয়ে টেসলার সব টাকা ভরে দিব because I think Tesla is a good investment. Like, what is good debt?
So good debt is basically any debt that makes you money, right? So, or, gives you an asset that will not lose its value over time, right? So for instance, say you have say you have 10 lakh taka with you right now, okay? You have hard cash, 10 lakh taka. You can spend it in two ways. One, you can buy a car, or say you can buy a car and you spend it on, say, মানুষে খাওয়াইলা, right? We talked about this yesterday. মানুষে খাওয়াইলা তুমি 10 lakh taka দিয়ে একটা গাড়ি কিনে, and then because you wanted to flex your car, you just fed a shit ton of people, okay? That money is gone. But তুমি loan নিয়ে করছো, okay? So the thing is, because it's a loan, you have to pay it back, right? And with your asset, it's all, and like the car that you bought, it's going to keep decreasing its value. The more you use, like the value of it starts to fall. That's what basic depreciation is, right? So now good debt, on the other hand, is something that will not lose its value. So for instance, আমার কাছে 10 lakh টাকা আছে, and I went ahead and I bought, say, like a piece of land, okay? And over time, I'm paying off this loan, but if say in one instance I couldn't pay it back, I could sell my land, right? Say like in 5 years' time, and its value would increase. Mm-hmm. So what I'm left with is, even after I repay the loan, what I'm left with is basically more money, like a net profit essentially. So if the piece of land, you bought it with 10 lakh taka, but in 5 years' time it goes up to 15 lakh taka, even if the bank takes away the land from you, you're still left with 5 lakh taka, right? That's what good debt is. Good debt is basically debt that you take that makes you money.
So it's about investing in appreciating assets instead of depreciating assets, right?
Investing in assets that will give you a return in some way or the other.
And the return also has to be higher than the amount of interest that I'm being charged from the loan.
Yeah, for sure. So you basically have to get an asset that will pay for itself and also pay for the interest and then leave you some. Yeah.
Right. House hacking er byapare janos, it's a very interesting concept.
House hacking is really interesting, bro. It's really interesting. But it's very it's not, I feel like socially it's not a very acceptable thing, especially in our culture. But house hacking is really interesting.
Go into it a bit.
I'm actually Jaina.
So the way house hacking works is that, most people aren't made out of money, right? They just they don't shit money. So the way house hacking works is that you buy a piece of land and the mortgage on it is much higher than what you would pay in rent, right? But what you do is that you basically get a house with multiple rooms, and then you rent it out to other people. So you have roommates, right? So you act like it's a rental property where you live in one room and everyone else also lives in, like you have other roommates, right? And because of that, you essentially have more money to pay off the mortgage, and so it's less of a burden for you. And another thing of house hacking is that you say you bought like a house that's like, you don't buy a brand new house, right? You buy a house that's a little bit like worn out, needs a little bit of like repairment work and improvement work, but it's structurally sound, right? Like the core structure is sound. You take that house, you renovate it, banker loan there, and then say you live in one room and then you rent out the other rooms or other units, right? And then after a while, because you did these renovations, your house value increases, right? Like the value of your house increases because now the banks think that, this is a much nicer house, so you can go for more. So what you basically do is that there's something called a loan refinance, where you basically get get your house like revalued at a higher price. You take out that loan, right? And then you pay off your old debt, and then the amount of money that you have remaining, you move on to do more investments with it. So that's like the whole concept of house hacking and like leveraging your assets to buy more assets.
So with house hacking, you can essentially live for free, right? Like if you can earn enough rent, you can.
That's the whole concept.
You don't have to worry about paying off the bank because your rent manusha are doing it.
Yeah, and even if you don't live for completely free, it takes a lot of pressure off of you, right? Like you don't have to worry about jalla, ami kemne kalke uthe ami loan taka ta dibo. That's the whole concept.
You've got a constant stream of income, like regardless of what you do, since you're renting the house. That's a very cool concept.
So I think in general, you know, like loan hoche ekta is a very it's a very slippery slope. You know, having
you know how to deal with that shit. Yeah.
Right, like owing someone else money is just like very stressful. It's just like a constant, you know, background hum of anxiety.
I think that's the same for credit cards as well. You really have to be responsible with the amount of money that you take out, right? So for me, my rule of thumb is that my rule of thumb is that I will only buy things with my credit card that I would have otherwise bought with my debit card, right? So which means that if there's something that I want to buy or I have to buy, I should be able to buy that thing with cash, with like hard cash. It doesn't matter if my money is gonna come. Like it doesn't matter if my money is gonna come in 20 days when I get a paycheck, but it has to be there. I know for a fact that I will be able to pay this amount back. Like it's not like impulse purchases where like I have a big credit limit. Let me just go splurge on that thing, right? And then I'll just pay the minimum amount and slowly pay it off over time. No, for me, you only buy things that you can afford.
Right. Ebong credit card interest rate kintu, you know, it's insane.
It's horrible. Credit cards are actually like literally a double-edged sword because one, it helps you build credit, which basically means that, you know, banks would be more willing to give you a loan because you have a good repayment record. But on the other hand, it's crazy because once you start going down that slope, like it's like a snowballing effect, right? And at one point, if your debt is so large, you wouldn't care about paying back your debt. You'd be like, okay, like why do I care? I'll just pay off the minimum amount and the interest. But then that interest just keeps on increasing over time. Right. Compounding.
I think there we go. Yes, I was about to. That's a great segue into compounding.
Yeah.
What we wanted to talk about. Acha. So let's sort of like break apart the concept and just start with the basics of compounding. Yeah. So basically, guys, I'm just gonna call it compounding. It's basically the idea that if you've got if you're saving money anywhere or if you're investing or whatever, and you're earning a return on it, and there's an interest rate applied to that return, it's just that over the years that interest rate is going to compound and it's going to grow. Like, essentially, it's exponentially large. Is that the correct mathematical word? Exponentially?
Yeah, I think it does go exponentially.
It grows exponentially.
Exponentially, right? Yeah. So it goes exponentially, and that's very different from a simple interest rate, which I hope you guys know about. And Barobi, how can we apply that in terms of our investments?
Is it time to crunch some numbers? I have the.
I think you should crunch the numbers. I'll just explain like the concept high level, and then we can show the effect, the impact, right? So Sounds the good. Way compounding works is that like, it's assuming that you don't, like, say for instance, if you invest $100 or like $1,000 or whatever, the concept is that you don't withdraw all of the money that you're like making out of that $1,000. So you don't take all of your returns out, right? And so what happens is that with interest rates or rate of return over time, this amount just keeps increasing. Like they just keep stacking on top of each other. With simple return, it's like today I have 1,000 taka. My rate of return is 1%. So tomorrow I'll have 10 taka, right? And then tomorrow I'll have 10 taka and tomorrow I'll have 10 taka, right? Yeah. And then and then I'll take that money out, and then the next year I'll also get 10 taka again, right? With compounding, the concept is that, okay, so if I have 100 taka, and if I get 1% today, that's 1 taka, right? But tomorrow, the interest will be on the 101 taka instead of just the 100 taka, right? So it's just like, okay, so tomorrow it'll be 101 times 1%. The next day it'll be 101 times 1% times 1%. And it just keeps increasing over and over and over again. And the more money that you put in, the more it starts snowballing into a much bigger amount. And you think that, say like a 1% or like a 5%, like a 0.5% difference, 0.5%, which is literally 0.0005, right? You'd think that a 0.5% difference wouldn't be that large, but when it comes to compounding, it can be exponential. Like to some extent, if you have enough money invested, and if you earn 0.5% more, it can literally translate to you earning like hundreds and thousands of dollars. That's just how big it is. And the way compounding works is that it's basically a game of patience. The longer you wait and the more money that you invest, the bigger and larger it'll grow.
Fardeem, do you have the numbers?
So I have the numbers. Okay, let's do this. So ধরো তোমার 1,000 টাকা আছে এবং interest rate ধরলাম আমরা 5%.
Fardeem, you want to share the screen? Like it'll be easier, I think, for people to visualize.
Our desktop is yeah, I think it'll be too weird.
Oh, so don't worry.
Yeah, so like ধরো 1,000 টাকা আমরা ইনভেস্ট করার চেষ্টা করতেছি, and it's at a 5% interest rate, and we're doing this for 10 years. So 10 বছর পর simple interest হলে the amount you have at the very end হচ্ছে 1500, আর compound interest হলে it's 1600. So মাত্র 100 টাকা difference, it doesn't matter. But তুমি যদি 30 years আমরা চিন্তা করি, দুইটা কেসে same setup এ 30 years এ simple interest তোমার 1000 হয়ে হবে হচ্ছে 2000, but compound interest is going to be 4000. So that's literally double, right? And I think so. I put out this tweet the other day. I was like, "School আসলে 4 বছর ধরে compounding শেখানো উচিত instead of like all the other crap that we
simple interest, yeah,
right." So I think compounding not only in the sense of money, but also in, like everything. A lot of other things compound, like relationships compound, right? Like আমি একজনকে নতুন চিনি, তার সাথে if I hop on a hour long call, that's very different from আমার like long time একটা friend, যার সাথে I have had this conversation. So skills compound, right? So like if you like আমার case, like for me, I know a bunch of programming languages, and learning a new programming language is very easy for me, whereas like learning your first programming language is very hard. So এরকম like if you think about like তোমার জীবনের সব decisions from a compounding lens, যে if I actually put effort into it, তাহলে এটার return কি actually compound করবে নাকি it will only grow at a simple interest rate, এবং মানে if it doesn't grow at all, then it's just basically useless, right? Like if you're trying to get better at like predicting যে একটা fair dice roll করলে কি নাম্বার আসবে, it's very unlikely যে you'll get better at that. But there's other stuff that so like আমার অনেক friend আছে যারা কিনা they're studying like say accounting. Okay, accounting is actually a bad example, but like they're studying say design, right?
Nice reading the room, bro. Nice reading the room.
No, not because because it'll make sense in a little bit, because they want to get into like forex trading and stuff, right? So if you're doing accounting, then you at least have some background in it. But if you're doing design as your career, so forex trading, you can't put time into it, right? And there's no way you're going to be as good as like hedge funds and stuff, right? So it's like a time to তুমি যে invest করতে, so like তোমার time এ invest কি compound করবে নাকি? If you're doing like forex trading as a designer, then it probably won't, and you probably will lose money. So you should look at compounding. I think it's a very interesting way to not only look at financial investments, but like investments of money, energy, time, etc., etc.
I think I would go as far as to say that compounding is like applicable to like almost all of life, like সব জায়গায় হয়, because it's like if we go a bit more financially, like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. তারপরে successful people get more success. Like look at Elon Musk, একটার পর একটা he's just churning out companies. Although he's like an exceptional person বলতে গেলে, but it's like when you're having a bad day, it's harder to do something good. Like একটু ভালো
for
করতে.
sure.
But when you're having a good day, the chances of like you doing better within is so much higher than when you're having a bad day. So I guess we can't think if you want a simple life advice is when you're having a bad day, just nudge it a little positive direction. Exponentially you'll get better.
We focus
And,
on good habits and a lot of this shit on the show. And like I'm pretty sure compounding works heavily with that as well. If you're trying to build something in your life where you want to be, let's say, a great financial analyst or a great trader, it's not like তুমি প্রথম দিন থেকে you're going to start trading thousands of dollars, right? You can start with one or two, whatever. Over time, it's going to build up. You just have to keep at it, be consistent, and be patient. That's pretty much a super positive takeaway. I think we should all.
I just wanted to add one thing to the calculation that Fardeem talked about. What we're assuming here is that we only make a one-time investment of like 1,000 taka. But once you start putting in money constantly, so what we call an annuity, the growth, like it's unimaginable how big the growth is. Like if you keep on constantly putting like an extra taka with your 1,000 taka investment on a monthly basis, it will increase. Like it's crazy the increase is, like how much the increase is. And I think that can also be said about anything else in life. We talked about compounding in other aspects of our life. So if you put constant effort in something and you see that effort is having even a little progress, I would say like try and keep making that little progress, because incremental progresses make something really, like the result of incremental progress is immense. Like, and you can only, like, the thing is, the problem with compounding in general is that it takes a lot of patience, and because it takes a lot of patience, a lot of people aren't willing to commit to it. But hindsight is 2020, and if you do commit to it and if you look back, you'll see how far you've come in every aspect of your life.
I think Adib mentioned this, but Adib was mentioning that we should start early, right? Like even with investing and all of these things, মানুষজন ভাবতে পারে যে আমি এখন কিছু বুঝি না, আমি এখন কেন স্টার্ট করব, আমি আরো বড় হয়ে নেই বা আমি আরো বেশি টাকা আয় করি তখন স্টার্ট করব. Like what do you have to say to that, Barobi?
So that's the thing, right? If you think that if you started at a later date, you'd be better because you have more money. But the problem with that is that because your growth is exponential, you'd have to put in a huge amount of money. Like at a later date, if you want to be in the same place as someone who started investing in their 20s, and if you're in your 30s, so you lost 10 years, the amount of money that you'd have to put in is going to be so substantial that it is unlikely that you'll be able to achieve the same goal. Because the thing is, your income isn't going to increase exponentially during these 10 years, right? Even if it does, it'll just be like small, like inconsistent increases, right? But like with saving and investing, it just keeps on growing and growing and growing and growing. So the best would be that even if you have as little as $50, start now, start early. If I knew better, I would have started when I was 19. I did not, because I was just like, nah, I'm at the taka now, I'll do it when I start working, blah, blah, blah. Like you can make a lot of excuses for yourself, but if you really try, like if you really want something, you have to seek it into existence.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Love that.
I also think arekta jinish jeta comes into this is when you're initially investing, you're also very new to this. Like you have no idea how to do it. Kemne ki korbo. You're prone to making more mistakes. And this eta tumi 30 হওয়ার পরে হয় না এখন হয়, it doesn't matter. Like you're going to be prone to mistakes at the beginning. So if you start early, you'll be able to sort of make those mistakes early and not have to worry about this. And যখন এখন করতেছি আমি ধরো হয়তো 10 টাকা বা $10 or whatever, like I'm investing little amounts and losing হয়তো ওই 10 টাকা or $10 wouldn't be that big. But if I'm like আমি একবারে 30 হয়ে করব, তখন I'm moving like what, 1 lakh টাকা 2 lakh টাকা, or like some thousands of dollars. um তখন if I make a mistake, it's much more costly. এখানে আরেকটা জিনিস আসে that um we're much better off taking risks when we're younger than we're older, because এখন all we're responsible for is like me, right? Like I'm just responsible for myself, making sure that I have food and blah blah blah. But like once you get older, you have a family and everything, so much অনেক কিছু, like there's stuff to take care of. So if you mess up, a lot of people a lot of other things mess up. So I think that's something also that's good to keep in mind when you're thinking about starting early.
পারবে, আমি একটা কোয়েশ্চেন করতে চাচ্ছিলাম যে to bring it more into context, আমাদের obviously audience is very much our age, এবং we don't have a lot of money, like obviously investing is one of it. How do you approach budgeting, or spending money in general?
Yeah, so I think for me, budgeting, again, like the whole concept of saving comes from the fact that you spend less than what you earn, right? So even if you don't earn, say like your parents give you like a monthly budget, right? Say you're abroad or whatever. If you have a monthly budget, my goal would always be to spend less than how much I have, right? Because the remaining amount I can invest. But I think a better way to look at it is, if you have a constant flow of income, right? Say like you started your first job, or like you have, say, like a side hustle that like gives you a good amount of money. Say to me tutoring kore, right? To tutoring kore, like you earn, you have a constant flow of income. The way to look at budgeting is as if it's another, like the way to look at investing is as if it's another expense, right? It's like a non-discretionary expense that is essential. So for instance, say that me 10,000 টাকা আজকে tuition করে income করো, and you want to save money, right? You want to budget in a way that you save money. I think the best thing to do is to think as if যে তোমার মনে করো you have food expenses in a month, right? The same way food expenses are essential, your investing expenses should also be essential, right? So to me, like, just have a fixed amount. Say to me mone koro you want to save 1/8, say 10% of whatever you're making, right? So to me 1000 টাকাটা you take that away at the beginning of the month, right? So you only have, say, 9,000 to work with now. So you set yourself a goal, you set yourself a fixed percentage, and with the way your income increases or decreases over time, you adjust that amount with the percentage, right? So you relatively save a fixed amount every single month, instead of saying like, oh acha ami ajke এগুলো খরচ করবো, then the remaining amount I'll spend, right? The remaining amount I'll save. I think when you do that, there's always this like incentive of, oh, like acha next month আমি একটু বেশি করে save করবো, okay? Like it's always like, oh, next month, how I can push like these expenses in the next month, right? Because you think, oh, saving is discretionary. It's discretionary, right? So by forcing yourself to think that, oh, nah, this is something that I have to pay up at the end of the month, much like I would pay up any of my other bills, it will make you a lot more disciplined. And like over time, the process just gets like easier and easier and easier. And like if you say set it up as auto deposit, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about, oh, hey, like আমি এবার এই মাসে কত টাকা সেভ করব, অথবা next মাসে কত টাকা কমাবো, right? Things like that. And again, like the key is always try to have your income higher than your expenditures. So this can be in two ways, right? You either become skilled in something that will earn you more money, or you reduce your expenditure. You cut out all the non-essential expenditures.
Right.
That's just how
we've come to sort of saving to invest. And in terms of like from a beginner's perspective, how would you recommend a person learns about the different methods of investing, what they can invest in, and all that sort of good stuff?
I can tell you that in my last 3.5 years at university, in like a business degree, they don't teach you anything about finance, like personal finance, right? Like a lot of what I learned, like the rate of return, compounding, that stuff I learned right in school, but it was more of like from the context of corporations. But yeah, a lot of personal finance I've learned mostly from YouTube, pretty much. Like I just looked at videos, how to start investing 101. I look at what all the successful guys are doing, and just like following that trend line. And like the thing is, I'm still learning. I'm not an expert, but like the more information that you take in, is the thing with YouTube is that like once you start like searching up something, they'll give you recommendations based on like what you watch, right? So for me, I started off with like like we talked about guys like Matt Devella and stuff yesterday. So I started off with that, right? Because I started getting into minimalism, and like financial minimalism is also a thing, right? Where you don't spend unnecessarily. You don't spend on things that you don't need, right? You don't have to get that latest iPhone every single year. It just doesn't make sense, right?
Mm.
So I started off with that, and then that got into the trend line of people like Graham Stephan, Andre Jick I talked about, like a bunch of like
Shout out to Graham Stephan and Andre Jick.
Huh?
Shout out to Andre Jick and Graham Stephan.
Yeah.
Shout out Dollar.
That's a thing we do.
They need it.
That's a thing we do every episode. Acha, by the way, Barobi J Manushgula Nam Boltase in terms of YouTubers will have their YouTube channels in the description below.
It'll be up.
So if you're interested, each one can point to wherever they're going to be. But if you're going
also
to
in the descriptions.
If you're interested in learning about these guys, YouTube Jeta Barobi Boltase is an invaluable asset. Like it's an assumption that তোমার এইসব শিখতে গেলে business স্কুলে যাওয়া লাগবে অথবা
you really don't.
But that's not true at all. There's a lot of people, there's a wealth of knowledge on the internet. So it's just your job যে তুমি যদি জানতে চাও তোমাকে খুঁজতে হবে, like where you can find it.
If you want to take like that's the thing, if you really want to do something, take initiative, and like most things will just come to you, right? Like you like what type of investing that like you prefer, right? You can either choose say real estate, you can go into like like the stock markets, you can go into forex, which I highly dislike. It's
highly discouraged. Highly discouraged.
Horrible.
What is that?
I will not be your friend if you invest in forex. I'm just saying.
What is that?
Horrible. Like I would rather go to a casino and gamble than do forex trading. Like it's horrible.
Wait,
Foreign exchange. Foreign exchange. Foreign exchange. You just trade on the differences in the exchange rate.
You're betting on currencies to to increase or.
আমি একটা ছোট গল্প বলতে চাই। So আমার একটা ফ্রেন্ড আছে, ও আমাকে বলতেছিল যে ও নতুন ফরেক্স ট্রেডিং শুরু করছে, and he's making some money, and he made like $20 or something, and it was so funny because literally ওর সাথে কথা বলার এক মাস আগে I was at a very popular hedge fund in Chicago, and আমার একটা ফ্রেন্ড ওখানে কাজ করে, and he was like, ও ব্রো, আমরা তো স্যাটেলাইট ইমেজ দিয়ে দেখি ওয়ালমার্টের পার্কিং লটে কতগুলা গাড়ি আছে, এটার উপর আমরা বের করি যে ওয়ালমার্টের স্টক প্রাইস কিরকম হবে। সো আই এম লাইক dude, মানে people like Citadel হচ্ছে এইসব অ্যানালিসিস করতেছে, like you being like a universityতে ফার্স্ট ইয়ার উঠে ফরেক্স ট্রেডিং করে thinking. So I think like it's so weird with investing. There's a great book called What I Learned Losing $1 Million, যেখানে বলে যে like if you're like আমি যদি এখন গিয়ে সার্জারি like একটা হসপিটালে গিয়ে হার্ট সার্জারি করতে চাই, I'll literally kill the person, like literally, like there's no hope for me, but because
not
like
for him either, bro. Not for him either.
Not for him either. But because finance হচ্ছে probabilistic, like the market might go up, right? তুমি আজকে গ্রামীণ ফোন কিনছো, and then গ্রামীণ for whatever reason goes up 20%, কালকে, and you make like I don't know 10 টাকা, and then you'll think it's because of your skill, but it's actually just because of luck. And it's it's very you can really fool yourself, especially with stuff like forex trading. So like don't do that. Put your money in index fund, buy apartments or something. Don't go into forex trading.
I think also like something good to keep in mind for everyone who's watching is that anyone who's saying Jay they're going to double, triple, quadruple whatever your money in a few days, it's usually not going to work out. Unless you're taking a huge amount of risk, you're not going to make a huge return. That's something very good to keep in mind. কেউ যদি বলে ও আমাকে দাও আমি তোমার বিটকয়েন ডাবল করে দিতেছি কালকে, don't send him money. So something really important to keep in mind.
if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is too good to be true. Like that's a very big. A lot of these like channels have like like academy training, blah blah blah, online financial training. Double your money like ASAP. Like if it's something like that's the thing again with investing, much like with a lot of other skills in life, you will only get better at it the more time and effort you put into it. And if you think that like it's the same logic as Fardeem said, right? So if someone comes up to you and goes like, okay, like give me $500, I'll make you a surgeon tomorrow. It probably means that you're probably not going to be a great surgeon, if anything, right? It's the same concept. If just because someone says, nah, like they'll make you some hard, quick cash, it probably means that A, you're getting scammed, or the risk is so big that the chances of you paying back the money is horrible. Like the chances of you like receiving any gain is really, really low. And with that as well, so I think a lot of people might be aware of, say, money marts or like loan sharks, and those are really horrible. Like that's one of the first things that they teach you in like they taught me in business school is that never take money from like a loan shark or say like those money marts that say, no credit limit required, no minimum guarantee, quick cash, no pre-approval required. If you are getting money, like if you're like borrowing money from like these institutions, there's a good chance that the interest rate is like through the roof. Like so for us, they showed like Money Mart. It's basically like this like lender where they'll lend out money to anyone. You just have to go like, please give me some money, and they'll just give it out to you, right? And they say that, and like what they showed us is that they say, like it's similar to a credit card, 27% interest rate, blah blah blah. It's 27% monthly. So when it adds up, it's about 400%. Like if you keep their money for a whole year, you're gonna pay 400%, and you're not even going to realize that they're taking away so much. Like always keep that in mind.
By the way,
if you're gonna invest with your own money. Don't like go into margin trading. Don't like borrow money from someone else that is super high risk. Invest with whatever you have. Don't like bite as much as you can swallow. Don't go like, nah, like I'll overnight Elon Musk, overnight like I'll be millionaire. No. It's all patience and the amount of effort.
Wait, did Barobi just cut off there?
Nothing happens over a bit, yeah. I thought it was just me, but last was Shabab, you're not Elon Musk. After you're not Elon Musk or whatever.
So I'm just saying that, like if like don't take like huge amounts of risk, right? Trade with your own money, and it's not like like overnight you'll become Elon Musk or you'll be like the next Berkshire Hathaway. Nothing like that, right? It's like time and effort and how much patient you are. Yeah.
Don't basically don't expect things to happen overnight. But also this is something that I've dealt with. I think this is the second time this month. There are people that may try to recruit you into pyramid schemes, which is basically like a bhua scam. I just want to take that point to say that if there is something you don't understand, and if you're talking to someone who's trying to cover everything up in complicated language and can make it make sense to you, don't take the risk with your money. Like it is tumar money, it's your hard-earned cash. Just don't bother. It's all right. You know what I mean? Whatever you invest in, like investing itself is something in principles you should be able to understand. And if there's a guy who's trying to sell you je tumi 5-6 dine 3,000 taka or 100% banaba or whatever, don't buy into it. Try to stick to the basics and you'll be all right. Because honestly, yeah.
Right.
So I think we're getting like it's been like an hour, I'm guessing, and more than an hour.
No, I don't.
You guys want to head into some key?
Yeah, let's do some Q&A.
Shuru kore dibo?
Yeah, man. We've got some audience questions. I mean, let's head into them, bro.
Achha, sure. I had just one, like two. I had one. I don't even think it's a question. Yeah, I mean, niye to disilam. So one of them was one of them wasn't even a question. One of them was Shabab saying hi to Barobi.
Oh my
Shabab
man.
Kabir. Yeah. It's his brother's friend. I don't know. I'm confused a bit. But yeah, he knows Barobi. said hi. That was about
Hi,
it, I think.
Shabab.
Or no
Shout
question
out to
wasn't
Shabab.
question.
Shout out to
Shout,
Shabab.
shout out to Shabab Kabir.
Shout out to Shabab.
All right, shout out to Shabab. All right, next question. Acha, so we've got ACTA is how big does the starting investment have to be?
So for most, like depending on where you are, a lot of like discounted brokerages or like online brokerages, they do have a limit. So I know that for like in Canada, a lot of it is for a lot of them it's $1,000. So you basically it's like start off like you save up until you have $1,000 and then you can start investing. But a lot of other like website, like a lot of other discount brokers, such as Weibo, we talked about Weibo, we talked about Robinhood. For me in Canada, well, simple. There's no minimum amount, right? So you can start off with as little as $50 a month.
All right, cool.
So এখানে আমি just add করবো যে বাংলাদেশে if you want to trade on the Taka stock exchange, so the minimum you need to have is 10,000 Taka. So there you go. এবং বাংলাদেশে obviously like financial infrastructure is not very developed, so
the risk you're taking is probably a lot higher and the return isn't as good.
Right.
But like whatever decision you make sure it's an informed decision. If you do decide to trade Dhakate, then make sure that like you're deciding on companies that you really, really trust and expect to grow.
I think এখানে আরেকটা জিনিস আছে যেটা হইলো I think this is Warren Buffett's best investment strategy, and that's investing in yourself. So if you don't have a lot of money, no, but it's legit, man.
No, that's very true as well. Yeah, investing in yourself is also a big thing.
Yeah, it's like it's the lowest risk thing you can do with the highest return, because you're the only one who's like responsible for it, right? Like তুমি যদি নিজেকে like you do something, you spend time or money learning something new, like let's say programming is a very important toolkit to have nowadays. Like if you just spend some time learning that, you will have like a chance of, let's say, doing some কি জানি বলে ওগুলাকে, jobs পাওয়া যায় internet online. You can do some freelancing, right? Damn it. Freelancing, like you can do freelancing, you can earn some money. So if you can't meet the minimum amount for doing a stock exchange stuff, like invest in yourself, make yourself better, and then once you actually have that amount of discretionary amount to spend,
funds saved up,
yeah, then you can like start doing these things. And also Bangladesh risk ekটু beshi, so you have to always learn a bit more. It's easy. Just first day, what I would suggest is just research, learn up a bit. Tarpore you can go into different things. Kemne invest. When you look into it, you'll understand কোথায় invest করা যায় and কোন দেশের জন্য কোনখানে invest করা ভালো হবে. Like I think Bangladeshe buying land and stuff, if you can, that's a big investment. If you can buy land and stuff, that's like a very good investment. So like ugula jinish, so you'd have to learn the specific areas of where you want to invest. Like আমরা Canada থাকি, Australia থাকি, and USA তে থাকি, এখানে like the stock market and financial infrastructure is great. We can just put in money online, everything's done. So if you guys are from Australia, Canada, or the USA, we'll have links down below if you want to activate an account. And our links are going to be all good, no scams, but still do your research. You shouldn't trust for random guys online. So yeah.
Adi, do you want to go?
Yeah, I want to do a shameless plug. Just to touch up on the investing in yourself vibe. IBA Khichuri is where you get all your good shit about productivity and lifestyle. So do tune in. Tune in to our videos and to our Instagram. We're going to be
like, share, subscribe.
Subscribe and comment. Yeah, keep up the engagement. Fardeem, go ahead with the actual.
Yeah, so I love Ishmael that you bought investing in yourself. I think আমার একটা ফ্রেন্ডের সাথে I had a conversation recently and I changed my mind on say investment. I think especially if you're young, I think having more cash in your like readily available cash in your savings account is more important than like investing like in the market. Like obviously কিছু করা উচিত, but other than like কারণ if you have a lot of like cash on hand, হ্যাঁ inflation যাচ্ছে, but like on a short time span, it's not a lot. Like it's only a lot on a 30-year time span. But like 5 থেকে 6 বছরের মধ্যে আসলে বেশি না। এবং অনেক টাকা থাকলে like if you get laid off from a job or like graduation এর পর, and like বাংলাদেশে তো এটা অনেক হয়, because বাংলাদেশে, even বাংলাদেশে না, I think in like বিদেশেও হয়, like
I
you're
think it's
sold this
everywhere,
dream.
yeah.
You sold this dream যে like স্কুলে তোমাকে সব শিখাই দিবে and then স্কুল থেকে বের হওয়ার পর you'll get a job, but that's just
Yeah.
utter garbage.
Bullshit.
And
It's
then
bullshit.
right, like, and ধর graduation পর আল্লাহ না করুক you can find a job, you can, if you have money, then like tutoring করে you saved up, then you can like take 6 months, 1 year off to develop certain skills that makes you more marketable, which is which is really like what you want your money to be doing.
I think we haven't touched on this, but having an emergency fund is very,
Yeah.
very important before you invest. Like, do not invest 10,000 taka if you don't have any emergency funds
Yeah.
available to you. Because if you have to pull money out, you want to have a buffer so that dharo you have an emergency and you have to pay something, but all your money is in Tesla stocks, right? And for some reason that day Tesla stocks is doing really bad. You don't want to pull money তখন, because now you just lost so much money just because you did not have that buffer. So even just invest করার চিন্তা থাকলো, like have a buffer, have a emergency fund. I think it's suggested to 3 to 6 months. I think that's on the lower
Yeah,
end.
3 to 6 months of your expenditure. So basically, just to add to that, Ishwan, sorry.
Barobi go. You know way more than I do.
So it's just like you find, like, on average over 3 months, for instance, you find whatever expenses you have. So like, create like a spreadsheet, Excel, blah blah blah, and then just see how much like tomar like required mandatory expenses, and then just have like 3 to 6 months of it on the lower end. You could have up to a year if you can afford it, but like 3 to 6 months, like start off with 6 months or 3 months, and then the rest you can like invest. And like over time, when you have, say, more income, or if you're doing something else, like you can divide up the money. I'll say if you have like 500 taka in savings, keep 2,500 taka in for like as a emergency fund in your savings account, and the other just invested. And also one more thing, I think we haven't touched on this. Don't try to time the market. That's something that's very, very important. And it's if you are going to invest in the stock exchange, don't try it. So and the reason why I say it is because like, again, when you look at like empirical data, there's huge research that says that if you kept your money throughout like ups and downs, especially if you have a very diversified portfolio, you will have made a huge return, say like 9% annually year over year, right? But if you tried and timed the market, and say because you did that, you pulled your money out on the best days or the worst days, you would have lost huge amounts of money. So if you pulled out in the worst days because you were trying to like speculate and time the market, you would only earn 2% year over year during the same time, or something like around that amount, right? So don't try and time the market. If you're going to invest in the stock market, make sure it's an extremely diversified portfolio. Again, for instance, I'm a big fan of ETFs, which basically track the whole market at the given weight of each stock, right? And again, when I say time the market, if you see that like the market that you're investing in is if you see that the company that you have invested in, that company is going down, then obviously pull out, right? Always just pull out, right?
Difficulties there, but Barobi continue.
Yeah, so you obviously pull out from that company, right? But if it's like a super diversified portfolio, then don't worry about it. Keep investing, and by the time that you're old enough, you'll hopefully have a good amount of money to sit back on and retire and be independent financially.
Guys,
Also,
we
if
have a
it's
lot more
falling,
questions.
আচ্ছা দাঁড়া আরেকটা জিনিস,
Finish
if
your
it's
point, but তারপরে-
if the valuation of your company is falling, it might actually be a good time to invest because you're getting it at a discount. So research comes in to play. Like
Yeah.
if you know the company is good and people are just sort of flaking out for some bad reason, and you have an intention to hold it long term, you should consider like keeping the money and maybe even pouring some more money onto it. But again, research comes অনেক মানে এখানে অনেক important হয়, because I think there was a company called Theranos that was like faking its stuff and then it went down like completely. You don't want to be the last guy on the train who's like hoping it's gonna go back up, because sometimes it never does.
Research, Bolto, I think your own research, like all these companies are publicly traded. Their financial reports are all there. You can look at everything, pretty much, balance sheets, cash flows, all this stuff. Go through that yourself. Go through the notes. Be super diligent, because it's your money at the end of the day. And it's to my risk you're taking on. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah. Also, I'll finish after.
My question is actually.
Okay, so one more thing is that like the more you progress into investing and the more you learn, you'll know about your preferences, right? Whether you prefer cash flow, which is like a monthly stream of money or like a quarterly stream of money, or whether you prefer growth. And based on that, you can decide on whether you want to based on that, if you like dividend growth, which is like you receive cash flow, like monthly stream of money, you look at things like, what they're doing with their dividends, right? Their dividend ratios, their dividend amounts. But if you want growth, you look at more like, price to earning ratio, like how much growth is expected from these companies. What are they doing with their dividends? Are they reinvesting into the company? Or like what are they doing with their retained profits? Are they reinvesting? Or are they like giving it out to shareholders? So you look at a bunch of things and then you decide. Yeah, but that's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. And it's all online, right? So all these ratios, interpretation, you've got it all. It's just your job to go through them. Cool. Next question is, where is it better to invest, in Bangladesh or Canada? I think that's 100% Canada. That's like,
if you have the opportunity, Canada, because you also can access like the Canadian Stock Exchange. So like for me, it's Toronto Stock Exchange, TSX. You can also you also have free access to the American stock market, which is much, much bigger. So the NYC, Dow Jones Industries, and then you just look at like S&P 500 and things like that pretty much. Yeah.
Right. So Canada definitely, and also not Bangladesh, because there have been some, I think we had some problem with security and information leaking out in the past. Just do your research before you do that shit.
Bangladesh stock exchange at one point.
বাংলাদেশ চলে হচ্ছে হ্যাঁ, বাট বাংলাদেশ তো চলে হচ্ছে ইনসাইডার ট্রেডিং এ, সো আমি আর কিছু বলবো না।
লাইক তুমি জাস্ট চিন্তা করে দেখো, চা বিড়ি খাইতে খাইতে অনেকজন অনেক কিছুই বলে দেয়। It's like it's not even a big deal, you know what I mean? So
don't listen to like other people. Like I think Bangladesh crash was largely caused by the fact that everyone started making money on it. So everyone was like, "Amyo parbo," and then that was true for a while because more people kept getting in on the stock market, it just kept increasing. And the moment like the big fish who actually know what they're doing, they realize that like this isn't like sustainable, they pulled out and they caused the entire market crash. And like I know millions of people, like there was a point where like my relatives, their sole income was just trading in the stock market, right? They weren't investing, they were just trading, because like quick money in, quick money out, right? And then they just went to shit. Like horrible, bro. Like they went from earning like fat stacks per day to like having debt, because they took up like such big loans to try and make a quick buck.
No, people lost a lot of money.
I've heard horror
stories. A lot of money.
So be careful with the Taka Stock Exchange right now, or any stock exchange. Like whatever, do your research.
By the way, one more thing. Sorry, Adi, keep on interrupting. Yeki বাংলাদেশে বসে কি ইন্টারন্যাশনাল মার্কেটসে করা যায়? Cuz
that's a tough one. আমি চিন্তা করতেছিলাম, you can though, right?
I looked at it 2 days ago when I was like doing research for this podcast. It's kind of tricky, because like you need to get it approved, and then you need to have a broker that has like a Bangladeshi account and a US account. And you could do it in theory, but then you're probably better off like doing other things, because like exchange rates will take up a lot of will take up a huge chunk of your return. Right?
But if you really want to, you could.
You could, like, if for
I think আমাদের audience's জন্য it's not very applicable.
It's not very feasible. Yeah, I don't like if you really wanted to get a head start. Maybe you could, but then, like for instance, like you're in Bangladesh now, and then you plan on moving, or you're moving for sure, then you might. But then again, it's really complicated because exchange rate, you probably need a substantial amount of money to get like a foreign broker to trade for you. So I don't think it's that. Like you'd honestly at that rate, you'd rather be better off. You're better off with Dhaka Stock Exchange or even keeping your money in a savings account until you have enough money to say like buy a piece of land. Even if it's like
for now, just do the fire stuff, yeah. Save a lot, make sure it's more than all that good
as
stuff.
long as you're like saving less and again, so you could sorry, what am I saying? Sorry, spending less and saving more. You can invest in yourself if you want. You can start your own business. Because I feel like right now, like the entrepreneurship scene in Bangladesh is really big. Like everyone's getting in on it, and I think it's something that you could try and pursue too. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of your own money plus time and effort and energy. But if it's something
I think at the end of the day, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I feel like entrepreneurship is really, really fun, and if you can tolerate the risks, especially if you're young, you probably should be able to. Then I think go for it. I think 100% go for it.
I mean,
talk to like a few people who want good for you, and based on that, just like take the leap.
Abai entrepreneur hole কাজ করবে কে?
I think majority মানুষ fail করবে entrepreneurship.
I mean, that's the thing though. It takes a lot. Given the way our financial systems work, it takes a lot of effort to be an entrepreneur because
it's a pain in the ass just to get past the litigation, bro.
Alright, I was just joking. Anyways, next question.
But like anything worth doing is difficult. So with an itch, if you feel like going for it, go for it. Next question is, what's a reasonable percentage return to expect from a diversified passive investment?
So
8% adjusted for inflation.
Yeah. So the inflation is a big thing, and so I think anywhere between like a 7 or 8% or 8 or 9% adjusted is really good. It's like really deep.
This is North America.
Depending on where you are.
Yeah.
So your inflation will obviously adjust to where you are. With that, keep in mind. Mahir,
I think if you can somehow change. Do trading in like China, that might give you better returns somehow.
Emerging markets is pretty big right now. Emerging markets, but like unless you're trying to like make a quick buck, I think 7 or 8% over time is a lot of money.
তারপর আসতেছে আমাদের, what is the right medium of investment for a beginner investor? Stocks, gold, Bitcoin, something else?
We didn't go to crypto at all.
I think gold is probably not as amazing of an investment as people think it is. It's like buying gold is literally the same as say buying say like it's like putting your money in a bank account, right? Because gold doesn't increase as much. And then with gold, right? I know that like our parents have our moms have jewelry and stuff, and they keep it in like bank accounts. But when my mom recently tried to break it into to see how much she tried to appraise it pretty much, and her value actually went down, right? So even with gold bars and stuff, that'll still depreciate. So I don't think gold is necessarily a good investment for a beginner, especially if you're young, you might as well take a little more risk, right? And try and invest in say the stock exchange.
আমার মনে হয় কারো যদি ফ্রেন্ড থাকে যারা কিনা thinking along the same lines. আমার একটা ফ্রেন্ড আমাকে বলতেছিল যে so he was thinking, so the 5 of us would put in money for a down payment for a house. So you could also do that. Obviously প্রথম কেউ যদি বলে যে একটা বাসা কিনো, তাহলে it's like what আমি বাসা কিনবো কেমনে? But if you have a bunch of people and you can make it a group investment, then you can obviously do that.
To be real, Bangladesh bashar dam is a lot. So
it's really expensive. So
it's very, very expensive.
Bangladesh mortgage loans
house.
So I checked mortgage loans, and the most that they'll give you is I think 70% of the price of your asset, and it can't exceed I think 2 taka.
Also, unless you have a stable income, you'd need your parents to guarantee you.
Yeah,
there's a lot of shit that goes into this.
You need a good strong financial record. So you need at least I think 2 years of income, minimum income of 20,000. If it's a company, they'll prefer you. If you're an entrepreneur, then it increases by say like you need 40,000 taka a month. A lot of like.
Ekhon basa kina and all that stuff. I was thinking like Fardeem, where you were going with it was pretty cool in the sense that if you don't want to be the only one taking on the risk, you can sort of pile up some money and then invest in the stock. Then the risk is sort of like spread out and it's much less expensive for you. Like actually, and then it's not as risky and it's more like a cool way to see how the stock market.
You could also like buy other businesses. Like Ami Bangladeshe like onek like restaurant gesi or like at a dokan dekhti and I can see they're doing this thing inefficient. Hey, like like because for whatever reason they didn't think of this or like korte chana, right? So you can literally like pasha mudi dokanta, you can buy him out and then you can like make some upgrades and then you can
especially if they're struggling, if the person is like say a sole trader on the buro hai jache, they need someone, then might as well. I think I chota bela I still look at like investing money in a really funny way. I used to think আমি যদি একটা টাকা ইনভেস্ট করি I think that it's gone. Like I don't think like আমি return পাবো. I just assume that এই টাকাটা আমার নাই. And I feel like that helps me a lot with managing my anxiety about like when the market doesn't do well. So for instance, I have like money invested in like the stock exchange, right? Sometimes like literally before elections, my money went from like say 1,400 to like 1,350. I lost like $50. Right? And then I was just like, I had to pull out korte to bhalo hoito. But that's the thing, like I just think you know what? Amar takata chole geche. Because I said, right, you think of your investing as an expense, as a khoroch. So mone koro tumi je basha like tumi je khawar khorch diccho, like do you expect anything back from it? Like do you expect that money to come back? Like ekbar khawa khelo to that's it, right? Like that's done. Like it's gone, the money's gone, right? The food is gone, the money's gone. So I just think of it like that.
That's a cool mindset. I like it.
Also, there was this cool Bangladesh ekhono kore, like there are people that buy out rickshawalas and then like they work like you buy their rickshaws, I think, and then they pay you their dinar bhata and then you pay them a salary or something like that. There's a bunch of cool ways you can make money in Dhaka.
That's interesting.
CNG bhara. So basically, they like the relative I know, she bought out like Uta CNG and then she just like says, "Oh, hey, আমাকে দিনের শেষে এত টাকা দিতে হবে."
But guys,
you have to look into it.
Be good to them, man. They work hard.
Hit up your local rickshaw.
Of course, be good to them. You don't have to be inhuman just because. Like, don't be so entitled, Jesus.
Just saying.
Of course.
Because I've heard bad stories, man. Like people.
I've heard bad stories. So don't be the person that like.
Don't be the bad person that we hear about. Be the good person that we hear about.
That's facts.
Yes. Next question.
That's right.
Next question is Pfizer vaccine এর কারণে যে আজকে মার্কেট পাগল হয়ে যাচ্ছে, কোন stocks potentially buy করা যাবে? That's a very good question.
I mean, that's timing the market, bro. You don't do that shit.
Yeah. So like again,
no. But this,
like I don't want to give any recommendations. But again, I'm the passive investor, right? So ETFs. If the market does well, then I do well. If the market does bad, then I do bad. But if you really like, I don't want to like get the blame for levels to have Barobi amake ei podcast e Fardeem ali bhai.
Wait. Before that, we are not your financial advisor. Go ahead.
But I think that if you really want, it comes down to don't time the market. Just because everyone's buying in on Pfizer, don't do it. Only do it if you really believe in like what they're doing. If you really think that they have a solution, then buy into it. And that's the general rule. If you really trust a company, you really believe in what they're doing, that's only when you buy in. You buy into it.
I think arekta hocche je like it's more like if you really trust the sector of the market, then you can buy like I'm like long on tech stocks, right? So like even Manujon, like you make a quick buck on Zoom, but I honestly feel like Zoom doesn't have any business mode, and like their stock price is gonna come down very soon. So
just a man while using Zoom.
So volatile. Tesla has a lot of potential, but so volatile. Like,
right, like don't don't try to think like তুমি তোমার বাসায় বসে can make investment decisions that people with literally PhDs যারা like 12 hours 16 hours ধরে research করে
even hedge fund managers get it wrong. They never like the reason why I like ETFs so much is because even hedge fund managers, they can't outperform the market over say 10-year period. They might do it 1 year, they might do it in 2 years, but they will never, like no one has ever done it over like consistently over a long period of time.
That's not true. Like, you have some funds like Bridgewater and Renaissance Technologies that has done it. But basically like
actively traded funds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bro,
wait.
Wait. About like single managers.
So Rentec has returns of around 60% year over year.
Yeah, but how much risk are you taking because of it, right? Like everything, it's not, nothing's free. There's nothing called free lunch.
I mean, just think about that though. Like 60%, that's insane. Like
okay, but like that's the same as saying, like Tesla went 200% in like the last few months, right? Like
I'm bold to see it's not like one stock, right? You can't make that but Renaissance Technologies is returning 60% on their funds jeta kina like $1 million. Like making $10 into 20 is much easier than making 1 million into 2 million.
That's true.
And they're doing it year over year.
But how many years have they been in the business sort of?
I think it's like 50 plus or something.
Renaissance, Bridgewater, তারপরে আরেকটা কে জানি Jim Rogers একটা Quantum Fund, they've been around for ages. And they've made,
I have to look into this 60%.
Yeah, but I feel like with these big companies, you also have to be a sophisticated investor, right? Like they're not very accessible, I feel like.
No, they're not accessible at all. You have to be an institutionalized investor.
You have to put in a lot of money. You have to be a big guy.
In fact, Renaissance, they no longer take other people's money. Like they only like trade their employees' money among money.
That's what I'm saying. Like for our context, it doesn't make sense, right? To like talk about these huge funds because we can't access them, right? A lot like the thing and the reason I like finance, right, like personal finance at this age and time is that because of these, like discounted brokers or, like the rise of, information being so easily available, it's become a lot more, like a lot more accessible for like, say the average person, like you, me, right? Like it's not like we have like $1 million sitting in the bank, right? So it's good. I feel like the way information is shared right now and the way it circulates is really good for us going forward.
All right. To finish off the episode, some book recommendations, something someone can start with and just get on top of this knowledge shit.
Hey, bro, book recommendations for days.
Yeah.
All
right.
So first, if you're in like North America, Taile, one of the best like investing books or like just personal money management is Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Fantastic book. It sounds like a scam. It's not. It's like on a simple জিনিস and it's just like really effective because ওর কথা হচ্ছে যে everyone knows what they should do but they don't do it. So he really like focuses on like human psychology and so on and so forth. Arekta boy that I really liked was this is more like about like finance in general, which what I learned losing $1 million. I forget his name, but like Flash Boys, which was about like high frequency trading. Like finance is a very like colorful industry and like on a scam hoy she hoy. It's very fun. You should all watch Billions, the TV show.
Billions is a beast of a TV show.
Right, it's a great TV show. You learn finance stuff while watching it.
Also, there's this cool show on Netflix. It's called Dirty Money. Dirty Money just basically Barobi Who about loan sharks. There's an interesting episode on payday loans, which is like they put massive interest rates on like
payday loans,
which is don't go into that, but it's interesting to know about, and it's also good to know the ways people can manipulate the information that they're giving to you, right? It's just to keep you woke and aware that this shit does happen.
আমি আজকে এই payday নাকি এই dirty money দেখা শুরু
dirty money. Dirty Money, by the way, there's an episode on Donald Trump, so it's on your Dikta. And for the audience, next, our book recommendation would be The Intelligent Investor by Ben Graham. এটা ওয়ারেন বাফেট সবসময় ওইটা করে রেকমেন্ড করে আমি নিজে এখনো পড়ি নাই it's on my list but I'm recommending to you guys next Ishmael or Barobi, whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. Barobi to guest last থাক
আচ্ছা আমি last
best for last আমার জন্য I think I haven't really read any books. I have mostly been learn from YouTube and stuff. So we kind of, as we said, Andre Jake, Graham Stephan. I think there's something Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey
is pretty good too. How to be, I'll teach you how to be rich. Naam ki nahi, Ramit Shetty. And Ramit Shetty has a YouTube channel as well. It's also named I'll teach you how to be rich. You can watch that as well. Then there's this really cool dude I really like, and I only saw him once on a Joe Rogan podcast. I'll have it up somewhere. It's Naval Ravikant. He's a really interesting dude. He doesn't just talk about money, he also talks about being happy and all that stuff, like, you know. And he has a series of tweets that he also, I think, sold.
I love that tweet.
And the series of tweets, it basically gives you investment advice and like stuff like that and general life advice. And the guy is amazing. Or advice আমি এক সপ্তাহ শুনছিলাম, and এক সপ্তাহে like I had drastic mood swings in the positive sense. Really amazing guy. Do check him out. So that's all from me.
The Twitter thread is called how to become rich without getting lucky. So very interesting.
Yeah, we'll link all of these things. Hopefully I'll remember to add everything.
So is best for last?
Best for last.
Yeah, so again, I don't read a lot of books because I just get it's just not my preferred way of getting information. I have a very short span of attention. But I think one book you hear about a lot is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think. It's apparently it's a very interesting book about finance. So I actually will kind of want to read it. So I think I'll get to it at some point. Along with Dave Ramsey, Gary Vee also has a podcast. But like, I don't know, with a lot of these like financial, you know, like individuals, a lot of their you know, point of views can be really like bipolar. Like one person can be like completely against it, another can be like completely for it. I think for me, it's getting as much information and deciding what is right for myself and what my preferences are, right? I was going to say something else. I forgot. Oh, Reddit is a really good like way for you to find out, to learn more about like finance and stuff. So, you know, you can look up FIRE. FIRE is a huge thing, right? FIRE is a huge thing. You can always look up FIRE on Reddit. Wall Street Money Bets is a fun place where people like talk about. It's really fun to know. Like, again, you don't have to act on any of these things, and you shouldn't unless you like know better. But you know, it's just fun to know what people think. Wall Street Bets is interesting. So yeah, a lot of sources. It's just that, you know, like, don't give in to people saying they can guarantee you a win.
There's no guarantee other than death and taxes.
There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee of anything in life, right? So
Winston Churchill, all right.
There's also like, I think, brokerages that allow you to do like dummy trades. So they'll give you a dummy amount of money, and then you can basically see like trade kore how you're doing, and you can sort of learn without actually taking any of the risks.
Yeah, I think Investopedia actually has like a stock market game, but it's pretty interesting. I've done it before, and like, but that one is just like you're trying to time the market without any information, but it's still pretty interesting. So you can look up like portfolio management, like simulators, and you'll get a bunch of free options. I mean, I think you should. That's a good try. Like, that's a good starting point if you want to trade without your money.
Yeah. So in Canada, there's Questrade. Questrade, they have this option where I think they give you a lot of money, like fake money, not actual money. You won't make any money off of this, but they give you $50,000, which you can sort of trade wherever, and then see what your returns are. And if you're sort of
simulations are real
selecting
markets, right,
the
Shma? It's in real
it's on the
markets.
real
It's
market.
real market, just fake money.
Yeah, fake money, real market.
An interesting thing when you use these simulations would be, to me, sort of as the simulation goes on, do your research so you can sort of understand why the prices are going up, why the prices are going down. That'll just, I think, improve your understanding of the markets in general overall. But yeah, I think that's pretty much we're done on this episode. Unless anyone has some finishing thoughts.
I just want to say thank you, boys, for having me here. Like, it was a good fun.
Barobi, it was great. It was great having you.
It was a great conversation.
Past 2
It was a
days.
pleasure.
Thank you, boys.
Learned a lot. I think from me, like the TLDR of this episode is start small, start early. Like for me, that's what I take away from this episode.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, if you guys have any,
keep at it as well. I think consistency, keep at it, be patient, will be good.
Like the stuff we talk about in all our episodes, like everything applies.
Pretty much.
I think
quick tip, like, so you know how you guys do like the small like clips? I think you should put your TLDRs like as a first thing on these clips, just so that people have like a takeaway, right? Like, even if you don't listen to the whole thing, just a small takeaway. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah. I have some thoughts for this episode, but it recording course is to see. Acha, to finish it off, guys, this was Idea Khichuri's episode on personal finance investment with our guest speaker, Sweet Brown Boy, Saudi Roman Barobi. If you guys have any more questions, anything, feel free to engage with us on Facebook, Instagram, and on our YouTube page. If you've got this far, like, comment, share, and subscribe. That's all we've got for you today. Stay safe and keep cooking.
I think you've already reached the point where you're 60 years old and then a call, you know how those like random, you get those wrong numbers, like numbers call you and then you're like, that's like you just say some random shit. That's what my dad does. So I think this one time, this guy asked, bhai, Abul bhai ase? My dad said, Abul bhai to mara geche, amake phone ta diye geche.